We're going to talk more about all of this with France 24's Angela Diffley, who joins me on the set. Angela, how significant were those votes at the UN yesterday?
Well, they underlined again this growing rupture between the West, particularly on Ukraine. So it's a bit complicated there. There are two votes that matter here. The UN General Assembly vote, which is not binding, that was drafted by Europe. It condemned Russia's invasion or Russia's aggression, and it talked about Ukraine's territorial integrity. The US voted against. The US drafted their own resolution at the United Nations Security Council. They are binding resolutions that contain no condemnation whatsoever of Russia. And in the Security Council, the UK and France, notably, who could have vetoed, but usually in these sort of things, and they abstained. So a clear rift there in the positions of what were in Biden times pretty much clear supportive stances between Europe and the US on Ukraine. How much does it matter? I think it's worth noting that in that United Nations General Assembly one, the one that's non-binding, the one that the US voted against, the one that condemned Russia and talked about Ukraine's territorial integrity, a lot is being made of this fact that the US and Europe voted so differently. But Hungary voted against that as well. Even within Europe, we cannot pretend that there is a clear line. So that is worth noting. The other thing is, one would assume Vladimir Putin asked, or at least was pleased at Trump's suggestion that they would vote in line with Russia, in line with North Korea on these matters. But, the reality is the Trump administration cares nothing for the United Nations. It has no respect for the United Nations, and it will have cost Trump very, very little to do this. That's what it amounts to.
Now, of course, just before that vote happened, the French president, Emmanuel Macron, was at the White House for talks with Donald Trump. I mean, what came out of that meeting? Was anything achieved there?
Already, it was relatively okay in terms of body language, in terms of no dispute. There was a lot of backslapping, touching, tactile stuff to suggest that they were chummy. What came out of it is Macron saying that he could envisage a ceasefire within weeks. The issue of, he said, it mustn't include Ukraine's surrender. That was a bit glossed over. And also what came out of it was this idea, which we discussed yesterday on the programme, of a European peacekeeping force led by France and the UK. That would not be on the front line. He wanted some US backing for that, air defence reinforcements perhaps. Trump suggested that that might be forthcoming, but also said they won't need much backing. So left that fairly vague on that question. Trump also said that he could speak for Putin. He said, I've already discussed this with Putin. And he said Putin is OK with having European forces in Ukraine. That's new. Later, Emmanuel Macron spoke on Fox News and said something quite interesting. He pointed out that it's very likely that Trump will get some sort of deal with Ukraine over these rare earth minerals. And he said, in effect, that the best way to get Trump to commit to security for Ukraine was the fact that he will want to make sure that American access to those minerals, if they are signed up for in a deal, will not be in any way endangered. That is something which is a new element, perhaps, in all of this.